All right, we're gonna give this a real shot. Hey there, you fucking twerps, you weirdos and creeps that hang out around here. Um, so I just wanted to. I'll just let this video speak for itself for just a second. Okay.
He just kind of he throws these things out there. These numbers. He doesn't tell you where he gets them. He just kind of says. He just proclaims that they're true, which is something that people like me can do. People who have YouTube channels with 0 subscribers. We can do that because it doesn't matter. I'm not on Fox News.
Now that right there is, I mean, that's damn near shameful. I don't know who this character is, this handsome devil right here. Um, but this channel has ballooned. I'll say it. I'll be proud. This channel's sort of taken off. We have 3 subscribers as of 30 seconds ago when I looked. Maybe even at this point, I mean, who's to say? Could be any number. But it's not 0 anymore. And I got some feedback from some folks who were saying, oh, you should maybe demonstrate what you're talking about instead of just sort of vaguely alluding to it, which is exactly what you're complaining about Tucker doing. And you know what? I thought this defense of having 0 subscribers would be enough to combat those allegations. But you fiends were one step ahead of me. So I thought maybe it would be useful to go through, if you're looking at my tabs, you've already maybe surmised what this video is going to be all about. But I thought it would be useful to go through this clip that inspired the video that I made yesterday and address some maybe inaccuracies with the way that I portrayed what Tucker was saying, and get to the overall point of, I'm still right about what I'm saying, but that's sort of, that's kind of a spoiler for the video. Still watch, please. Okay, so I pulled up, here's the video that our buddy Tuck produced so graciously. And it's only 52 seconds long. I'm going to be stopping it probably and sort of commenting on what he says, all the sort of creepy stuff that he gets into in this one. But, to be 100% fair, I couldn't find the segment this was from in a format that made sense. I'm not going to, go through the catalog of Fox News videos on this website. Again, I'm just not gonna. I don't want to watch that much Tucker Carlson. It rots your brain. So I don't know what he's referring to exactly in the beginning, first 3 seconds of this clip. I think he's probably just talking about the fact that we have a lot of undocumented immigrants coming since Joe Biden was sworn in. It's really, I think, being blown out of proportion, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's just watch what Tucker says, and we'll get into it.
Has there ever been an administration this reckless and destructive?
Okay, so right off the bat, we're 4 seconds in, and yes, I mean, sort of where do you want to start? If we can just keep it to the 20th century and beyond presidents. We got involved in Vietnam. We did bombing campaigns in Laos and Cambodia that killed, hundreds of thousands of people. We supported coups all around the world. We did a coup in Iran and sort of haven't left that country alone since. We support genocidal maniacs the world over. But Tucker's really upset that these Spanish speakers are coming into America. So that's maybe a little bit dramatic there, Tucker. But let's get into it.
What's happening on the border tonight will change this country forever. A lot of things won't. This will, and you should know that. Unlike other disasters, mass illegal immigration is permanent. No one ever really gets sent home.
So to be fair, I did look into the numbers about this. It does seem like deportations are fairly rare. Here, I'll pull up key findings about U.S. immigrants, and there's a lot of stuff in here. A lot of stuff that we'll be talking about throughout the course of this video, but I do want to get to deportations. U.S. deportations of immigrants. So we see here a chart over time from 2001 till 2018. This is the most recent data that I could find. But basically, we're talking on the order of hundreds of people are deported every year, which is really not on par with the magnitude of people that illegally cross the border. However, what this doesn't account for is people that emigrate from the United States, which, if I'm not mistaken, I wish I had pulled this up earlier. If I'm not mistaken, we had a net loss due to immigration for the last couple of years. Immigration and emigration combined. For those of you who don't know, emigration is when you immigrate from someplace. So anybody who lives in the United States and then decides to leave and go live somewhere else, that would be an example of an emigrant. Don't say I never did anything for you. But yeah, so, if you want to only think about people who get sent home as deportations, which I suppose you could do that and it's not totally misleading, then Tucker's not totally wrong on this point. Okay, but that might be the last time I say that in this. We've got 35 seconds left of this.
Over the past 30 years, the population of the United States has exploded by nearly 100 million people.
Okay, so, again, in the video that I made, I said I couldn't remember, and maybe it was 10 years. He's saying 30 years. That number is not right. It's not right, but it's close-ish. It's only off by about 20 million folks, I think. Let's look at U.S. population in the year 1990. It's 250.1 million. Okay, ooh, and they've got even a useful little chart here. So we can look and see it climb on up. Okay, so in 2019, which would be 29 years later, the United States population was 328.2 million, which would be an increase of 78.1 million folks. So he's not right. He's wrong about that figure. But it's not as wrong as if he had said it over 10 years, because if we just look back here, 2010, he would have been off by a factor of 80 million. So, it's inverted. But he's 100% wrong. That is not true, what he just said about the population. But it's going to get worse here. Just write what he's about to say. I want you to pay real close attention to it, because we got a lot to talk about.
Mostly due to immigration.
Okay. I'm sorry. I have to keep stopping this because he's packs so. You got to give it to him. It packs a lot into a small segment. So, again, I'm just on the pewresearch.org, which, maybe you think that that's fake news or whatever. So let's look at this chart down here. I found this chart to be interesting. So here we have in 1965, foreign-born population, right? U.S. foreign-born population reached 45 million in 2015. Whoa, that's crazy. Okay, so we got a number here that's 45 million. That seems to be the most recent data point that they have for foreign-born population, which would mean people who immigrated to the United States in their lifetime. People who were born in other countries and came here legally or illegally. It counts both. So if that's 2015. This is 1965. Then 1990, the year that Tucker is talking about, would be right about in the middle area here. about 25 years from each one. It's a 50-year period. 1990 would be about here, which, it's a fairly linear curve. It is a somewhat of a curve, but I think we can pretty much, I'm willing to be generous here and say that this is right in the middle. Okay, between 44.9 and 9.6, which for the math heads out there, you math freaks, that's 35.3 million difference between those 2 points. And now you got to split that in half, which is 16 or whatever, 16.65 million people. So we're talking about, again, the population has grown by about 79 million people in the last 30 years. So he was wrong on that point. He said it was 100 million. That's not true. It's about 79-ish million people. Call it 80. The amount of that is foreign-born or people or immigrants, about 16 million. Maybe round up. We'll say it's 17 million. That's less than a quarter of it. So he's saying largely due to immigration. I don't know where he could possibly be getting that. And again, that kind of speaks to the overall point of the video, is that it's not really information. He's not giving you anything you can know with any certainty. He's just kind of throwing a bunch of shit out there and just saying all that crap. And while we're on this page, I just think it's worth coming here and looking at this chart, which shows the share of the U.S. population that's immigrants. We're not even at the high point. The high point was in 1890. In 1890, about 15% of the population was immigrants. Today, it's about a hair shy of 14%. So not really clear what the difference for Tucker would be. Like, what? So Tucker was one of these MAGA guys, right? Like, Make America Great Again, right? So when was America great? I guess America was great in this area. This time, so America was awesome right here. Not so good in this area, he's saying. And really, we're kind of getting back to a bad spot. So there was a time right in the sweet spot where Tucker thinks things were really pretty good. I just found that interesting. This would have been the era of industrialization, when we were actually building up our economic productive capacity that leads to our ability to take advantage of things like world wars to sell weapons and stuff to the rest of the world, make a lot of money, and be very protected from, bearing the burden of the cost of either of those wars, until we decide we want to be on the winning team, because that has a bunch of other advantages that are afforded to you. If it turns out winning a world war, very good for your economy. You get to do a lot of stuff as the winner of a world war that seems to be advantageous. All right, so let's get back to Tuck. Let's see what else Tucker's got to say.
Were you even aware that happened?
Were you even aware that happened? He's referring to the population increase, which, if he's asking if you're aware that the population increased, duh, kind of, Tucker. That's what's been happening sort of all over the place, all over the world. Kind of a commonly understood phenomenon, but whatever. Keep going. He's talking about in America. So, was I aware that it happened in America? I guess I assumed it.
You're not supposed to say a word about it, as every year the United States gets steadily more jammed with people, and at the same time more chaotic and less cohesive.
Have you noticed that? Have you noticed how it just feels so like everywhere you go, you just can't even spread your arms out and just enjoy being an American because all the immigrants that are around? Dear reader, have you noticed that happening? I can tell you I have not. I'm doxing myself. I live in New York City at this moment, and I can still find places to spread my wings and fly, baby. So I don't know what he's talking about in this little bit here.
As the open spaces shrink, as nature itself recedes in the face of yet another strip mall or apartment complex or fast food outlet.
Keep in mind, he's talking about immigration is the reason why this stuff is happening. And also, keep track of that nature stuff. That's a little spooky little term that he throws in there that you would wonder, like, what are you fucking talking about, man? What do you mean nature itself recedes? Almost as if these immigrants are sort of, anathema to nature. This is unnatural, maybe abhorrent, maybe obscene, to be an immigrant. It's kind of weird stuff, right? It's weird to blame immigrants for, like, Red Lobsters coming into existence, for strip malls. What are you talking about, dude? The most suburban phenomenon of all time. Strip malls and shitty restaurants happening. Tucker thinks it's, Mexican immigrants. That's what Tucker's thinking probably is to blame.
To serve the new people. This is becoming a crowded country, and crowded countries are ugly, unhappy countries. Why are we letting that happen?
Okay, yeah, again, why are we letting that happen? I'm not sure what he means. It is, like, he's talking about illegal immigration, as in not legal, as in we're not letting it happen, and also, one of the kind of fucked up things that Tucker was really into, that Trump did, that Joe Biden is still doing, I think, is stopping people from being able to declare asylum by sort of kidnapping them, putting them in detention centers, which is legal. It's your internationally recognized legal right, and it's the obligation of countries to allow the asylum process to happen. But not us. We don't do that. We're not interested in doing that kind of thing. So, yeah, I just wanted to go do a sort of close read of that segment of Tucker Carlson, and I'll just keep some of that stuff in mind. Because I was reading over here on this website, I went over to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, because remember how I was saying Tucker Carlson kind of, dabbles in Nazi stuff, and a lot of people are inclined to say that that's crazy talk. You're just a crazy lib cuck kind of guy. So here's the name of the title. Uh-oh. Somebody should turn the camera off. Here's the title of the article that I wanted to just read just a tiny little snippet from. If you're averse to reading, it's okay. I'm going to read out loud the parts, and you just listen. Culture in the Third Reich, disseminating the Nazi worldview. And, I came to this article because I wanted to know if there was something to this whole, was I overreacting in the way that I characterized Tucker Carlson. So I'm just going to read a couple of stuff from this opening intro paragraph. The rest of it gets kind of into artwork stuff, which Tucker doesn't really have so much to do with. But I found the intro to be sort of illuminating on this topic. National Socialism represented much more than a political movement. Nazi leaders who came to power in January 1933 wanted to gain political authority to revise the Versailles Treaty, the treaty that was signed at the end of World War I, that sort of hollowed out the German economy, and to regain and expand upon those lands lost after a humiliating defeat in World War I. We're learning. Look at us go. But beyond those goals, they also wanted to change the cultural landscape. Ooh, spooky. They wanted to return the country to traditional German and Nordic values. Interesting. To remove or limit Jewish, foreign, and degenerate influences, and to shape a racial community which aligned with Nazi ideals. Again, when you see this term, when you see this this Nazi thing that I'm saying, keep in mind that Tucker Carlson, self-described described nationalist, espouses populist economic rhetoric. Populist economic rhetoric is another way of saying sort of socialist-sounding economic rhetoric. And this term, this one right here, that I'm highlighting on the screen, I don't like saying it so much. You know, it just makes me, ooh, it's like saying Beetlejuice or Biggie Smalls. You know, you don't want to summon them. But that just means this one up here. These two ones put together. It's just the sort of German portmanteau political slang way of saying this stuff up here. So if you're a nationalist and you spout socialist sounding talking points, it might be appropriate to call you a national socialist, which is what, again, that one means. Okay, so from that paragraph, we haven't gotten too much yet, right? But I want you to, let's really keep in mind the whole remove or limit foreign influences. When people are sort of fear-mongering and exaggerating the problem of immigration, it's a lot like saying you want to remove or limit foreign, maybe even degenerate influences. I'm just saying they come over here with they bring their culture, which is lesser than ours. This is me adopting the viewpoint of somebody that agrees with Tucker on this issue. They come here, they're foreigners, they bring their lesser culture. And this maybe also the racial stuff, which I mentioned in the first video, does seem to influence the way that Tucker talks about these kinds of things. Okay, but this second paragraph I think is really where the meat is of what I think is. You're gonna hear this and you'll be like, oh yeah, that does sound like Tucker. Okay, these ideals were at times contradictory. National Socialism was at once modern and anti-modern. It was dynamic and utopian, and yet often harkened back to an idyllic and romanticized German past. Now, idyllic and romanticized past. Huh. I wonder if there's any link here with Tucker. In other areas, Nazi cultural principles were consistent. They stressed family, race, and folk as the highest representations of German values. They rejected materialism, cosmopolitanism, and bourgeois intellectualism. Huh. That's something that Tucker Carlson does a lot, I think. This rejecting of bourgeois intellectualism. These Marxist professors on these college campuses, cosmopolitanism, which is just, you hear the word cosmopolitanism and you should just kind of maybe replace that with multiculturalism. They're very similar ideas. Instead, promoting the German virtues of loyalty, struggle, self-sacrifice, and discipline, Nazi cultural values also placed great importance on Germans' harmony with their native soil and with nature. Emphasized the elevation of the Vulcan nation above its individual members. Huh. Okay, so this guy, Tucker, who, was upset that the immigrants were coming, and when they came, nature sort of recedes because they don't belong here. They're bringing their bad culture, which is responsible for things like strip malls and restaurants, which Americans classically, I think, when I think of America, I think of people who just sort of revile strip malls. You know what I mean? Like they just, you say the words strip mall to an American, they just go, ugh, gross. Get that out of here. What is that? That's some sort of disease. That's how Americans sort of react to that stuff.
Hey there, folks. So at this point, I dove into the topic of refugees and where they come from, and got into some interesting information about DR Congo that I will link you to. But I got to a point where it felt like it was too off topic, and I didn't know enough to make it interesting. So I'll link you to the information, and you can sort of look into it on your own time or not do that. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the video. We're gonna watch Janine Pirro's little clip that I mentioned in the earlier vid now, and then I'm gonna say goodbye.
Police of border right now who've got COVID. Wait a minute. I listen to you. You listen to me. They've got COVID. They've got all kinds of diseases. They are being released into the United States. Now, you're not going to tell me that a governor is going to shut me down and not allow me to do my job and let in illegals because we've got a heart.
She just kind of says it, She just says, like, immigrants are diseased and gross. There's not really any other way to look at that statement. But it isn't on her show, so, I guess that undermines everything that I'm saying about it. But yeah, so I just want to talk about those things real quick. We got kind of off the rails there towards the end, talking about stuff that I clearly don't know enough about. So, educate me on that stuff. Write a comment about what I got wrong about the dynamics of the Rwandan genocide and how that contributed to the destabilization of DR Congo. I'll be putting links to this article, this article which talks about the conflict mineral problem in DR Congo, and it does talk briefly about U.S. measures to sort of counteract that problem. I'll put a link to this. I'll put a link to this. These links are already underneath the other video, so I'm not going to put a link to those because I want you to watch both of the videos in case you just watched this one. Yeah. I already told you to leave a comment. Don't watch Tucker Carlson. It's bad for your brain. He says a lot of things that are misleading in like 1,000 ways. Watch my YouTube channel instead. Like I said, we're not doing fake news anymore, so that's that. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you never, because this only goes one way. You see me, I do not see you.